Digital transformation is ubiquitous nowadays. For traditional media like television, radios, and newspaper, in the past few decades, we have witnessed the major shifts from the traditional platforms to interaction platforms, where the audiences have more interaction opportunities and to have their own way to control the time, the space where they can get access to the information and content. So what does digital transformation mean to traditional media? What are the innovative products of traditional media to embrace the digital transformation? How we can understand audiences nowadays relying on the interactive platforms, and what are the future directions of the digital transformation of traditional media? Today, we're very happy to have Mr. Xiu, the controller of marketing and sales of Television Broadcast Limited, also known as TVB, to share with us his insights about the digital transformation for the traditional media. Thank you very much for joining the interview, Mr. Xiu. So I know that you have been working in TVB as a controller for marketing and sales in the past 12 years, and you must have witnessed the major digital transformation of traditional media in Hong Kong in the past 1 decade. So could you share with us, first of all, what does it mean is the digital transformation to traditional media?
Thank you for having me here today, Vincent. In fact, Hong Kong television has gone digital in 2007. And in the past decade, Hong Kong television has witnessed a lot of changes, especially in the digital transformation. Actually, the digital transformation has affected the industry a lot, in particularly in the area of production, distribution, or delivery, and other areas. For example, in production, in the past, in the analog days, we don't have to have very high quality production because the picture will not be as good as 4K or HD as of today. So once we move to digital, a lot of things, a lot of equipment that we have to upgrade, not just the setting, but also the production and the post-production equipments, like the camera, as well as the post-editing machines. So the TV station has to invest a lot on the production equipments. And in addition to that, the delivery method has also been affected a lot. In the past, I don't know whether you still remember, a lot of video tape rental companies in the US or overseas Chinese communities. They get the videotape, the VCR tape from Hong Kong, and then they rent it out for the local Chinese communities. Nowadays, a lot of parity companies, they don't need to go through this process. They tape the program off air, and then via internet, they can send it overnight to overseas Chinese piracy shops. This actually hurt the TV stations' income a lot, because in the past, video rental is a big business for TVB. We have a special unit called TVB International looking after this part of business. But nowadays, because of this distribution method, piracy has a big headache for the TV stations. Although with the internet technologies, a lot have been done to fix this problem. But nowadays, still, because the profit is huge, there are still a lot of companies doing this kind of things, and it's very difficult to 100% get rid of the piracy issue.
So you talk about the production, also the delivery. So it seems that it's about the hardware for the TV production. So how about the software? I mean, so in terms of the professionals, in terms of the audiences, do you see any new kinds of professionals that are required or that are actually the television or broadcasting stations are pursuing now? So in addition to the previous kinds of professions, like the production crew, like the directors, or the people who are in charge of editing and do the final cutting of the programs. Do you see any new kinds of professionals that emerge?
There's a very good question. I think in terms of audience, there are a number of ways that are affecting the TV station's operation. First, we now have much more information about the audience, especially with the development of OTT television. Because in the past, broadcasting television, you just broadcast the signal, and you know very little about the TV audience. You can still have the information about the audience through TV ratings. We have spent a lot of money on running the TV audience measurement. But with the internet development through the OTT, you actually have real-time data about the audience preference, which channel they watch and which program they watch and how much they have watched. So this kind of information will give the TV station a lot of information about audience preferences. They can design or change the program accordingly. And also, because of the internet development, the audience now can choose when they watch the program, which program they want to watch, and where they want to watch, and which device they want to use. Because of multi-screens, they can watch it on their mobile phone, they can watch it on the iPad, or they can watch the program in their living room on the TV set on their living room. So there are a number of ways they can watch the program. And because of this, the TV station has to rethink about how they analyze the huge volume of data. This, again, for Hong Kong television stations, it is a bit difficult because the data analysis will require a lot of manpower and investment. Compared with like Google or Netflix, those international operators, because they have a huge audience base, they can invest a lot on this part. So there are a lot of catching up the Hong Kong TV stations have to do.
Yeah, so I agree what you just have said, because like for Netflix and Google, they are, I think, in essence, internet companies. So they grew up with understanding of the internet and also those development of analytical skills to understand the data from the internet. But for traditional media, previously we understand audience in a different way through their subscriptions, through the ratings, and through other different kinds of data that is not necessarily the same as what we have from the internet. So you must have to take up lots of new skills to understand the data analytics for the internet data. So since you talk about the way that audience now consume the content from TV stations or consume the TV programs differently nowadays, the OTT, so the on-the-top media service and the on-demand services that audience can use nowadays basically enable them to get access to the TV programs everywhere, anytime, on demand. So what is the implication to the TV production? It seems that now people not only watch those TV programs from TV, but also from their digital devices. And how do you basically monetize the content? We know that previously maybe we rely much on the subscription from the audiences, but now how about that? How is the monetization of content for the TV stations?
Okay, actually in this world, especially for the old or you call it traditional media, the key method for, say, the print media is a combination of subscription and advertising. And for television, traditionally, it's mainly on advertising. So you don't have to pay the TV station. Unlike, I think the only exception will be in the UK, you have to pay you buy a TV license so that you can watch BBC because you don't get any advertisement In Hong Kong, traditionally, it's not a pay TV or subscription TV market. You watch the television, you don't have to pay because you watch the advertisement as well. And the OTT basically is, in most countries, is based on a subscription model. In other words, you pay a subscription fee and you get less or no advertisement at all. So if you look around nowadays, basically everybody is following this either subscription or advertisement-based model or a hybrid model. And you can see like YouTube, if you just use the normal YouTube service, you will see a lot of ads. And if you use the premium one, then you can skip the ads. And I don't know whether you noticed, even Netflix, recently they have announced that they will consider the advertisement model as well, because they just announced, I think recently, the fourth quarter last year results. The subscribers has dropped first time in their short history, and it's quite alarming because there are a number of reasons. First, they cut off Russia because of the war, and also in a number of countries, there are some subscribers cutting their service, and that's why they are now thinking of going for advertising model as well. In Hong Kong, the way that TVB has done is using a subscription plus advertising model. So by doing that, we can keep the subscription fee to a more affordable level and using advertising income to fund some of the operation. As you know, in OTT or subscription TV, you have to offer the audience something different. If initially for TVB, the operation is we just put the what's free-to-air program onto the OTT service called My TV Super. But initially, it's quite attractive because some people will think catch-up is a very good service. That's back in 2016 when we first launched the service. People may think, that's good. Now I don't have to rush back home this evening to catch the latest episode of a particular drama. So I can watch it anytime in the next 7 days. So initially, it's used as a catch-up service, and that was the model most companies or most TV stations use, a catch-up service. But later on, with the introduction of Netflix and other streaming TV services, the audience found that just catching up is not good enough. They want more. So that's why the TV stations and like Netflix has to spend a lot of money on producing streaming TV only content. So in other words, we cannot just using the catch-up model. We have to have My TV Super only production. So people will not get this content on regular broadcasting TV. So the audience think by getting this kind of content, they are willing to pay additional subscription fee. So that's how it evolved. And to summarize, I think in the moving forward, the market will still have this kind of two models, by subscription and by advertising. And some may even have, even for subscription, there will be two different models. For subscription, some TV station will charge a very high fee, and you can have everything, just like you go for a buffet. You pay for a fee, and then you can pick what kind of food you like. But that will limit the number of audience or number of subscribers, because if you charge a high fee, then some people may think, it's too high for me, so I may not go for it. Or in Netflix case, some people may, if there's a very popular drama, a drama I really want to see, I subscribe for 3 months, then I cut it and wait for the next big hit coming in. So that's one model that nowadays some companies are doing is a hybrid model. You pay a relatively low subscription fee, but for some very popular programs, you pay for view, pay-per-view. You pay and then additional money so that you can watch this program. For example, even in Hong Kong, Now TV is using such a model. You pay a low subscription fee, you can pick the number of channels you like, but if you really want the soccer or some very important or very popular sports program, you have to pay extra. So that's another model, and I think in the future, very likely this model will continue to be the dominant approach.
Yeah, so it seems that there's a broadening of the content, so that can be provided to the audience. So once they subscribe, they can get access to all the content. But also there's a deepening of understanding of the targeted audience's needs. So the specialized or the specific needs for different kinds of audiences, like sports, entertainment, or maybe some very sought after TV programs or TV series. And then you basically create this kind of craving for the audiences, thus they have to pay extra money so that they can keep in touch and keep pace with the development of the stories of the TV series. So this is one thing that you just mentioned about how so what a business model is. So in addition to that, in the past few years, have you witnessed any other kinds of changes in the digital transformation? I mean, from the traditional media, from the software to the hardware, there are different changes. How about the collaboration? So for instance, between the TV stations and other kinds of content providers, do you see any trends in this aspect?
In terms of content provider, that's not that obvious. On the other hand, more cooperation actually happen between the TV station and other e-commerce companies, because as you probably have heard of this statement, in digital age, data is cash.
Of course.
And because of the OTT development, now TV stations have far more data about their audience than before. They know their preferences, and also because of the interactive, because in the past, as what I said before, broadcasting TV is pretty much a one-way communication. You send a signal out, people watch the program, they like it, they watch a bit longer, but they cannot send the feedback to you very quickly. They can write down or write on certain columns, or on their social media, they can say good thing about your program. But nowadays, because of the interactivity, you can set up a chat room, and you can also ask the audience to send feedback to you, or even pay you. I mean, in China, a lot of apps in China, you can actually pay the KOL with money or certain things. So the instant reaction to your program, actually, especially because of the development of e-commerce, and also because of the pandemic affecting a lot of people's lives, actually affecting everybody's life. So people spend more time at home watching TV and also shopping more. So that's in fact, this e-commerce has developed just before the pandemic broke out, and it's turned out to be ideal for both parties, because the OTT has got interactive audience, and they need to shop, and through the data, they can adjust the offers, and also because of the interactive data, they have much more information about the audience, and that help them to modify their offerings and make better offers, and at the end of the day, make a lot of profit out of this business model.
Yeah, I would say it's a win-win situation. So for from the side of e-commerce, they know better about their audiences, potential customers from the TV stations, from the interactive media platforms provided by the TV stations. And for the TV stations, they also have revenue, basically, or they have income from this collaboration as well. So what are the organizational changes for the traditional media? So the structural changes for the company have you witnessed during the past 1 decade in basically when we're embracing the digital transformation?
Oh, yes, that actually there has been quite a number of changes. I think the first is very obvious one is you need a separate business model because internal competition actually affect quite a lot the transform. Actually, internal competition has become a critical part in adopting the digital transformation. Let me explain a little bit why. Because as I mentioned before about the catch-up TV, in the past, TV ratings is a key KPI for the producer. That's their scorecard. If your program get very high ratings, that means a lot of people are watching your program. So you got a very good score on your performance. But up to a certain point, actually up to very lately, the TV audience measurement could still only measure the real-time rating. That means that the program, when it's on air, they can capture the audience size. They cannot capture, we call it the catch-up ratings, or very difficult to catch up, to measure the catch-up ratings. I will explain a little bit later on the catch-up ratings. So when you change from offering the audience just a real-time broadcast to catch up, you are open a different window. As I said before, the audience don't have to rush home to watch the program. They can find another time that is convenient to them. So it's quite easy to figure out the real-time ratings will be lower. Because in the past, like the final of Miss Hong Kong pageant contest, everybody will go home and watch that, or the final episode of a very popular drama. Everybody will rush home to watch it. But nowadays, you don't have to. I can still go out for dinner and I can watch it the other day. If it's on a Friday, the final episode, I can watch it on Saturday or Sunday morning when I wake up. So the real-time rating will drop, and that actually will affect the producer's KPI, because at that time we still cannot add the catch-up ratings to that. And also bear in mind that the catch-up rating, even if you manage to add it back to the real-time rating, it will definitely be lower, just like normal buying behavior. If you go to a supermarket, you find an item, you like it or not, and you want to buy, and suddenly you think, let me think about it. And when you go home, and very seldom will you come back and buy that item. So even a very popular drama, if you miss the final episode, you may miss it forever. You may not come back and do the catch-up, because Sunday morning you may have other things to do. You may have to go to your son's sports day or do something else, or go shopping. You may miss the program at all. So the ratings, actually we have found for some very popular programs, popular dramas, the catch-up rating plus the real-time ratings will be okay. Sometimes will be higher than we would expect. But for a social drama, usually the catch-up rating plus real-time rating will be lower. Because the reason I've just mentioned, it's just human nature. You may not catch up, although you plan to catch up, but you may not. So coming back to the point I made, the TV stations has to set up two business units. One is mainly on OTT and the other is on the normal television. But there will always be a conflict. And again, there's two different schools of thoughts. One may say, okay, you should put the two under one management. Okay, because still they are bringing in audience and bringing in advertising revenue. But the other school of thought will be, because they are in fact in real competition, you should think about a totally different business model and try not to use one management to look after two, because that, again, a very classic example will be like Kodak and Fuji on the film business, because the existing business model is basically a cash cow generator. It gives you a lot of income, and people tend to hang on to the good old days without investing a lot of time and energy on the new technology. But in fact, those two are competing. And you have to think about ways to let the audience watch the catch up much easier. But in fact, initially, it will hurt the existing TV business. So TVB has gone through a lot of those internal conflicts. But luckily, the top management realized digital is the future and make a very bold decision is for all the programs put on catch-up, because there are a lot of resistance from the producer, because they think some should not put on the catch-up, or should there be a delay so that people may not get the catch-up that easier. But at the end of the day, the management managed to go ahead. Actually, nowadays, you will have the catch-up very quickly. I mean, the drama, say the second night drama will end 10:30, but after midnight, you can already have the catch-up on the internet. So basically, I mean, there's still time lag. There may be some technical thing we need to fix, but the lead time or the lag time is very short. So one thing is the different business unit. That's very critical, because that will it's always difficult to put the two into one. And I share that thought. Usually when there is a new business coming up, there should be a new business unit dedicated to that business, rather than put it under existing business, because that's, again, human nature. You tend to do the easiest things and try to take the easiest way out. So that, for a lot of companies, that doesn't work. I mean, again, a more recent case will probably be Nokia and Apple. I mean, Nokia was so big in mobile phone, but because it sort of ignore the development of the smartphone, and that it lost the whole battle to Apple.
Yeah, so I believe that these organizational changes, together with the KPI, new mindset for the KPI, the catch-up rating, must also influence the content production. I mean, the way that the people and the producers come up with the content, so the stories they tell and the way that they present the content. Do you see any changes, or have you talked to the producers and the people who produce the content? do they feel that they have more burden to come up with better content, or they have to come up with a content that catch people's eyes so that they can come back, or they still want to watch it?
Not really. I think that the key issue on the content development is, as what I said before, the audience are demanding OTT only content, and that's one thing. And the other thing is they demand better content, or at least not even if not OTT only content, will be OTT first window content. It's simply because there's a subscription model. Because if you pay a subscription for something, you want the exclusivity. You want to either have it only as a subscriber, or you want to have it first before the whole world gets it. But for TVB's case, it will be very difficult to get the money back. TVB is serving a very small market compared to Netflix. Netflix can invest a lot on original programming because the English-speaking community is so huge throughout the world. But for TVB only serving Chinese-speaking community, it will be very difficult to get the investment back if we only use the only use the content on OTT but not broadcasting TV. So at the end of the day, there will be a window. We'll put it on OTT first, but ultimately the program still has to be put on air. So to summarize, basically the audience will demand, in terms of content, will be two things. First, exclusive content, or OTT first content, and the other will be the content, the quality of the content. There's a major difference between the broadcasting TV and OTT. For broadcasting TV, although still you can say the decision is made by the audience, but for the television set on the living room, basically when it is turned on, you cannot make much decision. You still have to watch it. But for OTT, you can watch it on your PC, on your iPad, and you can decide which program you want to watch, and where you want to watch, and when you want to watch. So that's a major difference, and the control is much greater for OTT services.
Yeah, so I think this feeling of control gives the users a kind of feeling that they can choose what they want, and this is probably one of the major features of the TV audiences nowadays. They want lots of control, not necessarily just the content, but also the time, the location, the space that they watch the content. So how do you estimate the size of the users? I mean, recently we have seen the news that Netflix just announced that there's a drop of their size of their users. One of the reasons, of course, from the company, according to the company, is that there's a share of password or share of devices or maybe share of accounts. Do you encounter such issues for your platform?
No,
or
because the way that TVB has done, because it's pretty much a lock-in mechanism, is through password control, and it could not be shared. And so from day one, the approach is slightly different. There's a better control of the piracy, because even in the broadcasting TV days, TVB has been suffering a lot on the piracy issue. So TVB is pretty critical on this area. And so it's only limited to one or maximum two devices. One will be the set-top box, and the other will be on the mobile phone. So there's very rigid on this. So if you don't offer multiple device kind of access, you can pretty much control this problem.
Yeah. So I think we have talked a lot about the transformations of the specific things that you have witnessed and you, of course, be a part of as a leader for the digital transformation of TVB. So how do we evaluate the effectiveness, or how do you evaluate the effectiveness of your transformation? You talked about the KPI changes, you talk about the size of audiences, and of course the income, the revenue that you can gain from the subscription and also the hybrid model, right? Are there anything else that you have in mind when it comes to the evaluation of the effectiveness of the digital transformation?
Basically, you mentioned are the two most important or most critical kind of we call it scorecards, or the KPIs, because audience for all the media, be it newspaper, magazine, TV station, radio station, I think audience size will be a critical measure, or even KOL on YouTube. The more audience you have, or the more audience following you, the more popular you are. So audience is a very, very so-called the gold standard. But nowadays, we all know it's very, very difficult to attract a large sum of audience, because we have heard the word fragmentation a lot. And in fact, it's true. Even if you look at the number one, I think the video provider, YouTube, in the world, in the past, or not just long ago, I mean in the, or say 2 or 3 years ago, when advertisers or marketers go for advertising, they can pick a few KOL, very popular KOLs, to promote or to promote their products. But nowadays, if you turn on YouTube, you can see so many KOLs. In the past, you can have a few KOLs. You can have a very successful campaign. But nowadays, there are just so many KOLs. And even as a user, I mean, that I look at it from the as a marketer or advertiser. But if you look at it from a user, it would be very difficult for you to pick the right kind of content or right KOL for a particular content. If you want, say, a traveling, there are so many KOLs. If you want to taste or find the best restaurant in town, again, there are so many KOLs. If cooking, nowadays, because of pandemic, a lot of people will cook at home, prepare meals at home. Then you can see a lot of KOLs teaching you how to prepare a meal. And exercise. I mean, we all need to do more exercise when we are at home. Again, there are so many KOLs. So nowadays, the getting audience is more and more difficult. And this, again, will one of the key measures on the success of programs. And we have witnessed a major shift in terms of the audience development in the past is mainly because of limited choices. Broadcasting TV could command a very high audience number across the board. And nowadays it's getting more and more difficult. Still, broadcasting TV could offer much higher audience, or we call it in media planning jargon, reach, compared to OTT or compared with social media. Broadcasting TV still could offer that, but it only offer that for some particular programs, especially like major sports events or major news events. Those they can still, or very popular dramas, but they cannot offer high audience number across different programs. So audience number will still, I would say, in the foreseeable future will be a key measures, we look at the success. And other, of course, will be in together with the audience base will be the subscription number or subscribers number. And because that's a kind of directly linked to the audience. If you don't have the subscriber, you won't have the audience. And also the subscribers number will also link to another very key factor will be the bottom line, the revenue that bring in. And because of different models, the revenue will be contributed by two parts. One will be the subscription income, and the other will be the advertising income. And the advertising income, to a large extent, will determine by the audience size. So those two numbers are closely related. And why the share price of Netflix has dropped quite a bit as the subscribers number drop is because for Netflix, up to this point of time, the only source of income will be from subscription. So if the subscribers number down, that means you can foresee the subscription income will be down. So that's why the company is considering offer a low subscription for advertising supported channel or service. So again, they are back to a hybrid model. And I think in the future, that probably will be the way to go. Because pure on subscription is very difficult to sustain. Simply because the production cost is going up all the time. You cannot forget nowadays, besides Netflix, you have Disney Plus and also other local competitors like My TV Super or certain local TV station or local productions. So if you have to spend a lot of money on production and you cannot get all those investment back through subscription, you have to open new way of revenue. I mean, for TVB in Hong Kong, another one is the shopping channel or the Big Shop. I think that's another e-commerce way. But so far, I don't see Netflix is going that way. And unlike Disney Plus, Disney, again, they got a large e-commerce potential, although it has not announced it yet, but it's a huge potential. But for Netflix, the licensing part, I doubt it a lot, although I don't know whether they will develop that part. So far, from the chairman's speech, I can only see they want to offer an advertising model or a subscription with advertising. And again, another very good example you can see is YouTube. They are moving from advertising model to a subscription-based model. So at the end of the day, you can see the two forces are merging together. And again, at the end of the day, I would say the most profitable model will be a hybrid model, because just like Netflix, initially when it first launched, is no advertising model, is quality production model, has attracted a lot of subscribers, but it's very, very costly to sustain that. And we can see this engine is losing its steam now. And I can see, and also because of competition, I think it's And as what I said, with competition and also the escalating production costs, this model simply cannot be sustained. So that's why they have to go for a hybrid model.
Yeah, I believe that the hybrid model offers more flexibility for the business's operation and the way that we can, interact with audiences as well. I also have seen examples from other markets, like mainland market, the bundle subscription. So you can basically pay money once and you can now have access to different kinds of services like music, videos, or maybe streaming services from different kinds of platforms. I believe that in Hong Kong market, Now TV is also having that with HBO. So you can basically have a bundle subscription. So again, I see more collaboration and more kind of cross-border or cross-program or cross-category collaboration. That definitely will be the direction in the future. So besides that, are there any kinds of directions you see or you will foresee for the interactive media in the future? So of course, as you talk about the on-demand services, the OTT platforms provides more interaction opportunities for users. Are there any directions that you see in this aspect?
The other will be more program recommendations by applying AI and by better using the data available, audience data available to the TV station. This part, I think Hong Kong is still in its infancy in doing this because, again, as what I've said, that require a lot of investment in technology and also in human resources in doing that. But that's a very powerful tool and a lot of areas that AI could help. I mean, if you have a lot of data about your audience and you could make sensible recommendation on your whole program library to the particular audience with the knowledge of them, which type of program they want to watch or they like to watch. And this has not been done, in my opinion, properly in Hong Kong, simply because not enough investment or time and effort spent behind this area. And this certainly one area. I think the management of all the TV stations is aware of it. It's just it's not the top priority. So one day it definitely will move towards that direction. And the other will be a slightly lower level kind of service will be the chatbot. I mean, a lot of companies are now moving towards that direction, helping the company to provide a better customer service. But so far, I have experienced a number of those programs or those chatbots, but none of them is doing quite. I think, again, you have to spend a lot of time on going through the whole process. I mean, unlike Google, I'm sure you have heard the story. They actually analyze the actual users' movement, both in their eyes and also how they click on certain things. I mean, a lot of detailed analysis on the user experience. And I think so far in Hong Kong, I haven't seen a very user-friendly chatbot. And we're still going through a lot of, if you want what kind of service, press 1, what kind of service, press 2, those kind of very boring and time-consuming kind of customer service. So I think that, again, will be a future direction that AI could help, or the digital transformation will help to provide a better customer service. I think one of the so-called good service we could benchmark will be Apple. I mean, for a iPhone or for a MacBook, simply you don't need a user manual. It's so intuitive, so easy for you to know how to use it. And nowadays, we have gone through a number of generation of set-top box. It's better now it's much easier to set it up now, but still for certain audience, if they have, or certain subscribers, if they have problems, it should be easier for the customer service chatbot to help them to fix.
So I believe what you are talking about is that since these platforms involves users' actions, so they basically have to interact with the platform to get what they want and to know probably better about themselves in terms of the kinds of programs they want to watch. So creating an intuitive, I like the choice of word you have, an intuitive user experience is quite important, because in the old days, people basically just turn on TV and remember the time that they should watch what kind of TV programs, and that's it. But nowadays, they have to have lots of interaction with the platforms. And it's sometimes very easy to forget that we need to create an intuitive experience, user experience, before they start to watch the program. It's becoming more holistic. It's integrated into the whole watching experience nowadays. And that definitely will be the future direction. And probably we should have a user experience research department in the TV stations in the future to understand more about how we can create a better experience for our audiences.
Yeah, actually the TV stations, talking about user experience, and I guess not just us, but a lot of companies have learned it the hard way. We usually I mean, in the old days, not just that old. I think just about 4 to 5 years ago. Just think about it. We just learn it through the hard way, because a lot of our subscribers or our audience complaining very strongly. There are a number of ways actually nowadays we look back with the AI we could help, like as simple as the streaming speed or the quality. Because now if you watch YouTube, you can easily see they can automatically adjust the streaming quality. If you look at YouTube nowadays, you can easily see they can adjust the streaming quality based on your internet connection quality. It could be 720p or 360p or 1080p, simply because if you have a better internet connection, they could provide you with a better quality of streaming. And again, initially, we don't know how to do this. I mean, it's a technology breakthrough, but initially it's because how come the quality is, either the quality is bad or you keep on waiting because the internet connection is not good, and the server does not recognize that or does not automatically adjust the streaming speed. So it could be a very simple technical solution, but if we do not have it, and it will create a very bad user experience. And again, sometimes when you change the device from a Android to iPhone or from iPad to Android phone, again, those may look like very simple technical transformation. Sometimes if it doesn't happen, it will create a lot of annoying customers.
So it's integrated into the whole internet ecology nowadays, and you have to consider all those factors, even a teeny tiny factor that may bring a huge impact on the user experience.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Thank you very much for your time today, ST. We learned a lot from you, and hopefully in the future we can have another chat about the digital transformation. Let's
Sure.
have another review.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.